She said I wasn't worth her time anymore, so I made sure she had plenty of it to think about what she'd lost. The words came during what I thought was a normal Tuesday evening dinner at our apartment. Lisa was scrolling through her phone while I talked about my day at the accounting firm, barely acknowledging my existence. "You know what, David?" she said without looking up. "I've been thinking. You're just not worth my time anymore. I need someone with bigger ambitions, better prospects." I stopped mid-sentence, fork halfway to my mouth. What does that mean exactly? It means I'm tired of dating an accountant who's satisfied with mediocrity. My friends are with guys who have real careers. Lawyers, doctors, executives. You're content with your little cubicle and your modest salary. She finally looked up, her expression cold and calculating. I deserve better than this. I set down my fork, studying her face. 3 years together, and she was reducing me to my job title. So what are you saying? I'm saying I've been seeing someone else. Marcus from the law firm where I work. He's a partner, drives a BMW, takes me to places you could never afford. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. For how long? Does it matter? The point is he values me properly. Shows me what it's like to be with a real man who knows how to succeed in life. I nodded slowly, processing this information while she waited for me to break down, to beg, to promise I'd change. Instead, I stood up and started clearing the table. "Well, I guess that settles it then." "That's it?" She looked genuinely surprised. "You're not going to fight for us?" "Fight for what? You just told me I'm not worth your time. Why would I waste mine trying to convince you otherwise?" Her face shifted from surprise to irritation. She'd expected drama, tears, desperate promises to change. "I thought you loved me." "I did. Past tense. But I don't beg people to value me." I continued washing dishes while she sat there, clearly thrown off by my calm response. Over the next week, I quietly started organizing my life. I contacted my landlord about removing Lisa from our lease, changed passwords on shared accounts, and began separating our belongings. She barely noticed, too busy with Marcus and her new lifestyle. "I'm moving out Saturday," she announced Friday night, like she was doing me a favor. "Good. I'll help you pack." She stared at me. "You're really not going to try to stop me?" Why would I stop someone from leaving who thinks I'm beneath them? Saturday morning, I helped load her stuff into Marcus's BMW, a lease, I noticed from the paperwork on his dashboard, not owned. As she gathered the last of her things, she paused. "You know, you could have been more ambitious. Could have tried to be someone worth my time." "I am someone worth someone's time," I replied calmly. "Just not yours. And that's perfectly fine with me." She left looking confused and slightly angry that I wasn't devastated. I spent Saturday evening alone, ordered pizza, and felt lighter than I had in months. On Sunday, I did something I hadn't done since college. I went to the local photography club meeting. It was a hobby I'd abandoned because Lisa always complained it was a waste of time and money. Turned out, I'd missed it more than I realized. While Lisa was busy playing the sophisticated lawyer's girlfriend, I was rebuilding my life in ways that actually mattered to me. The photography club welcomed me back warmly, and I remembered how much I'd enjoyed creative pursuits before Lisa convinced me they were childish. I started taking weekend trips to photograph landscapes, something I'd stopped doing because Lisa preferred expensive restaurants and shopping. "You're different," my coworker Sarah mentioned during lunch. "More relaxed. Like you're actually enjoying life again." She was right. Without Lisa's constant criticism about my limited ambitions, I was rediscovering who I was beneath the relationship. I'd been so focused on making Lisa happy that I'd forgotten what made me happy. 2 weeks after Lisa moved out, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked surprised to see me buying ingredients for an elaborate dinner. "Cooking for someone special?" she asked with forced casualness. "Just for me. Trying new recipes has become my weekend hobby." "That's nice." She seemed confused that I was thriving without her. "How are things with Marcus?" "Great. He's taking me to that new steakhouse downtown tonight. The one where appetizers start at $50. Sounds expensive. He doesn't mind spending money on someone worth it." The dig was obvious, but it didn't land the way she expected. I just smiled. Well, enjoy your dinner. At the photography club, I met Elena, a freelance graphic designer who shared my interest in nature photography. We started going on photo walks together, talking for hours about art, life, creativity. She was passionate about her work, supported herself doing what she loved, and never once made me feel like I needed to be something different. "You're really good at this," she said, looking through my recent landscape shots. "Have you ever thought about selling your work?" "Not really. It's just a hobby. The best art comes from passion, not just profession. You should consider it." 3 weeks into knowing Elena, Lisa showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there with red eyes and smeared makeup. "We need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the apartment she'd walked out of a month ago. "About what?" "About us. I made a mistake." I didn't invite her to sit down. "What kind of mistake?" "Marcus isn't what I thought. He's controlling, possessive. And he's not actually as successful as he pretended. The BMW is leased, he rents his apartment, and he's drowning in debt trying to maintain his image. That's unfortunate. I realize now what I had with you. Stability, consistency, someone who genuinely cared about me." She looked around the apartment, noticing the photography equipment set up in the corner, the new plants, the general air of someone who was living fully. "You seem different." "I'm the same person I always was. You just couldn't see my value because you were too busy looking for something shinier. I want to try again. I know I can appreciate you properly now." I walked to the door and opened it. "I'm sure you can. But I'm not interested in being appreciated by someone who thought I wasn't worth their time." "David, please. You made your choice, Lisa. You chose someone you thought was better. How did that work out?" She started crying, but they were frustrated tears, not genuine remorse. She was upset about losing her backup plan, not about losing me. I could change. I could be different. "I'm sure you could. But I've already moved on to someone who values me as I am, not someone who needs to learn my worth the hard way. Someone else." For the first time, real panic crept into her voice. "Someone who thinks my career is respectable, my hobbies are interesting, and my ambitions are perfectly suited to who I am." Elena knocked on the door just then, back from getting coffee for our evening photo editing session. "Hi," she said warmly to me, then nodded politely to Lisa. "Ready to look at today's shots?" "Absolutely." I turned to Lisa. "You should go. I have plans with someone who actually wants to spend time with me." Lisa left without another word, but I saw her watching from her car as Elena and I spent the evening going through photographs, laughing, planning our next adventure. She sat there for almost an hour before finally driving away. The next morning, my phone was full of texts from Lisa. Apologies, promises to change, explanations about how Marcus had manipulated her. I deleted them all without responding. She'd made it clear I wasn't worth her time. Now she could discover what it felt like when someone else made that same decision about her. Lisa's attempts to reconnect became increasingly desperate as her situation with Marcus deteriorated. I heard through mutual friends that their relationship was imploding spectacularly. Apparently, Marcus had been using her to split expensive dinners and impress his own clients, but had no intention of anything serious. Meanwhile, Elena and I were growing closer in ways that felt natural and unforced. She encouraged my photography, I supported her design projects, and we both thrived in our respective careers without needing to compete or diminish each other. I sold 3 prints this week, I told her over dinner at a cozy restaurant we discovered together. "That's amazing. I told you your work was good enough to sell." Her genuine excitement for my success was a revelation. Lisa had always treated my interests as distractions from real success. One evening, Lisa showed up at the photography club meeting. I was setting up for a presentation on landscape composition when she walked in, clearly out of place among the photographers and artists. "Can we talk?" she asked, interrupting my conversation with Elena about weekend shooting locations. "This isn't really the place for personal conversations," I said calmly. "I just need 5 minutes." Elena squeezed my hand. "I'll give you some space." As she walked away, Lisa watched her with obvious jealousy. "She's pretty. She's also kind, supportive, and thinks my work is valuable. I think your work is valuable too. I was just stressed before, worried about our future. Our future? You told me I wasn't worth your time. Those were your exact words. I was confused, scared about finances. You were embarrassed by me. By my job, my salary, my hobbies, my ambitions. You wanted someone who looked better on paper. Lisa's face crumpled. Marcus broke up with me. Said I was getting too clingy, that he never intended anything serious. I'm sorry that happened to you. Are you really? I'm sorry you got hurt. But I'm not sorry you're gone. The meeting was about to start, so I walked back to Elena. Lisa lingered for a few more minutes, watching us interact, seeing how easily we communicated, how naturally we supported each other. She left before my presentation began. The text started that night. I see now what I lost. She'll never love you like I did. You're making a mistake. I showed them to Elena, not because I was tempted, but because healthy relationships involve honesty. She's hurting, Elena observed. That doesn't make it your problem to solve. It doesn't. But it's sad watching someone realize they destroyed something good for something that was never real. Do you miss her? I miss who I thought she was. But I'm grateful she showed me who she really was before I wasted more time. 2 weeks later, Lisa showed up at my office. The receptionist called to say someone was asking for me, and I found Lisa in the lobby looking desperate and exhausted. I've been thinking about everything, she said when I approached. About how I treated you, what I said. Lisa, you need to stop this. I was wrong about everything. Your job isn't mediocre, it's stable and honorable. Your hobbies aren't childish, they're creative and fulfilling. Your ambitions aren't small, they're realistic and achievable. She was saying everything I'd once wanted to hear, but it felt hollow now. I know all of that. I never needed you to tell me. I want to try again. I want to prove I can appreciate what we had. What we had was me constantly trying to earn your approval while you looked for someone better. I don't want that dynamic with anyone ever again. I wouldn't be like that now. You've learned that the grass isn't greener. That's different from actually valuing what you had. I started walking back toward the elevator. Elena and I are looking at apartments together. I'm moving forward with someone who wanted me from the beginning, not someone who had to learn my worth through loss. You're really choosing her over me? I'm choosing someone who chose me. You made your choice when you said I wasn't worth your time. Now live with it. The elevator doors closed on her stunned face. That evening, Elena and I found the perfect apartment with a spare room I could convert into a photography studio. As we signed the lease, I felt grateful for Lisa's rejection. It had freed me to find someone who actually appreciated who I was instead of trying to change me into someone else. Lisa's harassment escalated after I moved in with Elena. She started showing up at places she knew I'd be, the coffee shop near my office, the park where Elena and I went for evening walks, even the gallery where I was displaying my photography for the first time. This is getting concerning, Elena said after Lisa interrupted our dinner at a restaurant. She seems fixated on proving something that doesn't need proving. What do you mean? She keeps trying to convince you she's learned to value you. But real appreciation doesn't require convincing someone to accept it. Elena was right. Lisa's apologies felt performative, desperate attempts to win back something she'd discarded rather than genuine recognition of what she'd lost. The gallery opening was important to me, my first real show, with several pieces already sold. Elena had helped me select and frame the work, and seeing people genuinely appreciate my art felt incredible. Then Lisa walked in. I wanted to see your work, she said, approaching us near my landscape collection. Support your dreams. That's thoughtful, I replied neutrally, not wanting to create a scene at my own show. She walked through the exhibit, making loud comments about how talented I was, how she'd always believed in my artistic vision. Other attendees looked uncomfortable as she performed her supportive ex-girlfriend routine. She's making people uncomfortable, Elena observed quietly. Should I ask her to leave? No. Let her finish whatever this is. Lisa completed her circuit of the gallery and returned to us. This is amazing, David. I always knew you had this potential. You told me photography was a waste of time and money. I was wrong. I see that now. A couple nearby was examining one of my sunset prints, discussing whether to purchase it. Lisa inserted herself into their conversation. He's incredibly talented. I used to date him, and I always encouraged his art. The couple looked confused and slightly alarmed by this unsolicited information. They moved away without buying anything. Lisa, I said firmly, you need to stop. I'm supporting you. You're making people uncomfortable and hurting my sales. I'm trying to help. Elena stepped forward. You're trying to take credit for something you actively discouraged. That's not support, that's revisionist history. You don't know anything about our relationship, Lisa snapped. I know enough. I know you told him he wasn't worth your time. I know you left him for someone with more money. And I know you're only here because that didn't work out. That's not, it is exactly that. You're not here for David. You're here for yourself, trying to rewrite history so you don't have to accept that you made a mistake. Lisa's face went red. You think you're better than me? I think I'm better for him than someone who needed to lose him to appreciate him. He loved me for 3 years. And you took that love for granted until someone else showed you what real partnership looks like. I watched this exchange with growing clarity. Elena wasn't defending her territory, she was defending my worth from someone who'd spent years undermining it. The gallery owner approached us. Is everything all right? Some guests have expressed concern about the raised voices. Everything's fine, I said. Lisa was just leaving. I don't want to leave. I want to support your show. The best support you can give me is space to enjoy this achievement with people who actually want to be here. I want to be here. You want to be seen being here. There's a difference. She stared at me for a long moment, then looked around the gallery at the people viewing my work, buying my photographs, celebrating something I'd created. You really have moved on, haven't you? Completely. And you're happy? I looked at Elena, who was giving me space to handle the situation while staying close enough to support me if needed. Happier than I've ever been. Lisa nodded slowly, finally seeming to understand that her window had closed permanently. I'm sorry for interrupting your show. Thank you. She left quietly, and the gallery returned to its celebratory atmosphere. Elena squeezed my hand. How do you feel? Relieved. And grateful. For what? For her rejection. If she hadn't told me I wasn't worth her time, I never would have found someone who thinks I'm worth all of hers. By the end of the evening, I'd sold 8 photographs and received 3 commissions for custom work. Elena and I walked home through the city, talking about the future, making plans for our next photo expedition together. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding and turned off my phone. Lisa had taught me an important lesson. Someone who has to learn to value you was never right for you in the first place. Elena had shown me what it felt like to be appreciated from the beginning, supported unconditionally, and loved for exactly who I was. That was worth infinitely more than someone's regretful recognition of what they'd thrown away. Lisa's life began unraveling in ways I heard about through mutual friends, though I tried to avoid the details. She'd quit her job at the law firm after the situation with Marcus became too awkward. Apparently, he'd started openly dating someone else in the office. Without steady income, she'd moved back in with her parents, a situation that clearly devastated someone who'd prided herself on her independence and sophisticated lifestyle. She keeps asking about you, my friend Mike told me during a casual lunch. Wants to know if you're really serious about Elena, if you ever mention her, if you seem happy. What do you tell her? That you seem happier than you've been in years. Which is true. It was true. Elena and I had settled into a rhythm that felt natural and sustainable. She encouraged my photography business, which was growing beyond my expectations. I supported her graphic design work, which was flourishing. We complemented each other without competing. Meanwhile, my photography was gaining recognition in local art circles. A coffee shop wanted to display my work permanently, and I'd been commissioned to photograph a wedding. Lisa found out about these developments through social media and mutual friends. One evening, she called me directly for the first time in months. David? It's Lisa. Please don't hang up. I almost did, but something in her voice stopped me. What do you need, Lisa? I just wanted to say congratulations on your photography success. I heard about the coffee shop display and the wedding booking. Thank you. I also wanted to apologize. Really apologize, not just say sorry because I want something. I waited, curious where this was going. I've been doing a lot of thinking since Marcus and I ended. About why I treated you the way I did, why I said those horrible things. Okay. I think I was scared. You were stable and kind and consistent, and that terrified me because it meant I had to be a better person to deserve you. It was easier to convince myself you weren't enough than to work on being worthy of what you offered. This was more self-awareness than she'd ever shown during our relationship. I appreciate you saying that. I know it doesn't change anything. I know you're with Elena now, and from what I hear, she's perfect for you. We're good together. I'm glad. Really. You deserve someone who sees your value from the beginning. There was a long pause. I just wanted you to know that losing you taught me what real love looks like. Not the excitement of chasing someone who seems better, but the security of being with someone who actually cares about your well-being. Lisa, I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that I understand now what I destroyed, and I'm sorry. You were worth my time. You were worth everything, and I was too immature to see it. She hung up before I could respond. Elena noticed my thoughtful mood when she came home from her studio. Everything okay? I told her about Lisa's call, her apology, the recognition that felt years too late. How do you feel about it? Elena asked. Sad for her, but not tempted if that's what you're wondering. I wasn't wondering. I trust you completely. That simple statement, I trust you completely, highlighted another difference between Elena and Lisa. Lisa had always been slightly jealous, always looking over her shoulder for threats to our relationship. Elena's confidence in us created space for both of us to flourish individually and together. 2 weeks later, I ran into Lisa at the grocery store. She looked tired, older somehow, like someone who'd been through a difficult period of self-reflection. Hi, she said quietly. Hi. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. How are you? I'm okay. Taking things one day at a time. I started therapy actually. That's good. Yeah, I'm learning a lot about myself. About patterns I didn't recognize while I was in them. She paused. I saw the article about your photography in the local paper. You looked really happy in the photo with Elena. I am happy. I can tell. And I'm genuinely glad for you, even though it hurts to see what we could have been if I'd been a different person. You're being a different person now. That will matter for your next relationship. Maybe. I have a lot of work to do on myself first. As we parted ways, I felt something like closure. Lisa's recognition of what she'd lost and why she'd lost it validated my decision to move on, but it also allowed me to let go of any lingering resentment. That evening, Elena and I worked together in our shared studio space, she on a client's logo design, me editing photos from a recent nature shoot. The comfortable silence, broken by occasional questions or observations, felt like the life I was meant to live. Lisa called last week, I mentioned casually, and saw her at the store today. How was that? Said, but also conclusive. Like the final page of a chapter I'd already finished reading. Elena looked up from her computer. Do you think she really learned something, or is she just processing the loss? Both, probably. But it doesn't matter for us. Her growth isn't our concern anymore. No, it's not. But I hope she finds someone who appreciates who she becomes, not who she was. That generosity of spirit was another reason I loved Elena. She could wish Lisa well without feeling threatened, because our relationship was built on mutual choice rather than desperate need. 6 months later, Elena and I were engaged. I proposed during a photography trip to the mountains at sunrise, with a ring I'd designed myself using skills I'd learned in a jewelry-making class, another hobby I'd rediscovered after Lisa left. Elena said yes immediately, then laughed because she'd been planning to propose to me the following month. We're both planners, she said, admiring the ring. Good thing we're on the same timeline. Lisa found out about our engagement through social media, like most of our mutual acquaintances. I'd posted a single photo, Elena's hand wearing the ring, both of us reflected in the surface of a mountain lake. Simple, beautiful, perfect for us. The congratulations poured in from friends, family, colleagues, and photography clients. Buried among them was a message from Lisa: "Congratulations. She's lucky to have you. So sorry it took losing you for me to understand what I had." I showed the message to Elena. "Sweet of her to say," Elena commented. "And probably true about both things." We were planning a small wedding, family and close friends only, with a focus on photography and good food rather than expensive displays. Elena was designing our invitations, I was scouting locations for the ceremony photos. Everything felt collaborative and joyful. One evening, while we were addressing invitations, Elena brought up something that had been on her mind. "Do you think you would have been as happy with Lisa if she hadn't left?" "You mean if she'd appreciated me from the beginning?" I considered this seriously. Honestly, probably not. We weren't compatible in fundamental ways. She needed external validation, status symbols, constant proof that she'd made the right choice. That's exhausting for everyone involved. Whereas I just need good coffee and someone who laughs at my terrible puns. "Your puns aren't terrible. They're wonderfully terrible." She threw a pen at me, laughing. "See? This is what compatibility looks like. Comfortable, easy, supportive." Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Lisa hadn't said what she said? Sometimes. But then I remember that people reveal who they really are under pressure. She revealed that she saw me as insufficient for her ambitions. That's not someone I want to build a life with. The wedding was everything we wanted: intimate, personal, focused on the relationships that mattered most to us. My photography friends served as the impromptu photo crew, Elena's design colleagues helped with decorations, and everything felt authentic to who we were as individuals and as a couple. During the reception, my friend Mike pulled me aside. "Lisa asked me to tell you congratulations." "That's kind of her." "She also asked me to tell you that seeing your wedding photos online made her realize what she missed, not just losing you, but missing the chance to be the kind of partner who could build something this beautiful with someone. I hope she finds that chance with someone else." "You really mean that, don't you?" "I do." Her rejection led me to Elena. Everyone should have someone who chooses them enthusiastically, not someone who has to learn their worth through loss. As Elena and I left for our honeymoon, a photography expedition through national parks, I felt grateful for the journey that had led us to each other. Lisa's dismissal had stung at the time, but it had also freed me to discover what real partnership looked like. Elena and I spent our honeymoon taking pictures of landscapes, trying new foods, and talking for hours about the future we wanted to build together. She'd never once suggested I wasn't worth her time. Quite the opposite, she seemed to treasure our time together, whether we were working on separate projects in comfortable silence or embarking on new adventures together. On our last night, as we watched the sunset from our cabin porch, Elena said something that perfectly captured the difference between my two relationships. "I love that we don't have to convince each other of anything. We just are who we are, and that's enough." "More than enough," I agreed. Lisa had needed me to be someone different, more ambitious, more successful, more impressive to her friends. Elena loved me for exactly who I was and encouraged me to become more of that person, not a different person entirely. That night, I got a final message from Lisa: "Saw your honeymoon photos. You both look so happy. Thank you for showing me what I should be looking for in my next relationship." I deleted the message without responding, not out of cruelty, but because that chapter was completely closed. Lisa had taught me what I didn't want in a relationship. Elena had shown me what I did want. Both lessons were valuable, but only one was worth building a life around. 2 years into our marriage, Elena and I were thriving both individually and as a couple. My photography business had grown to the point where I could leave my accounting job and pursue art full-time. Elena's design studio was booming with corporate clients and creative projects. We'd bought a house with a proper studio space and darkroom for my film photography. One afternoon, while I was setting up for a portrait session, Elena burst into the studio with excitement. "I just got offered the biggest contract of my career," rebranding for a major law firm downtown. That's incredible. Which firm? Morrison, Blake and Associates. The same firm where Lisa used to work. Small world, but not entirely surprising given the size of our city's legal community. Are you comfortable working there, given the history? Why wouldn't I be? Lisa's not there anymore, and even if she were, our relationship isn't threatened by your past. The portrait session that day was for a young couple celebrating their engagement. As I photographed them, I remembered my own relationship journey, from Lisa's dismissal to Elena's enthusiastic acceptance, from being told I wasn't worth someone's time to building a life with someone who treasured our time together. You can see how much they love each other, Elena observed as the couple left, glowing from their session. It's in every photo. The best portraits capture what's already there. You can't fake genuine connection. Is that your professional opinion or personal experience? Both. That evening, we were having dinner when Elena mentioned something interesting about her new client consultation. The senior partner who hired me said something odd. He mentioned they'd had some issues with employee conduct a few years ago, someone who dated a colleague inappropriately and had to leave. He emphasized they were looking for a designer with strong professional ethics. Sounds like they learned from their experience. I think the person he was referring to might have been Lisa's situation with Marcus. It probably was. Lisa's departure from that firm had apparently become a cautionary tale about workplace relationships and professional boundaries. 3 months later, I was delivering prints to a client when I ran into Lisa outside a coffee shop. She looked good, healthier, more grounded than when I'd last seen her. David. Hi. Hi, Lisa. You look well. Thank you. I feel better than I have in a long time. She gestured to the coffee shop. I actually work here now. It's not glamorous, but I'm figuring things out. Good for you. I heard Elena got the Morrison Blake contract. That's a huge opportunity. It is. She's incredibly talented. I'm sure she is. Lisa paused, seeming to gather her thoughts. I wanted you to know, I've been in therapy for over a year now. Working on understanding why I made the choices I made, why I treated people the way I did. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. I understand now that I was so focused on how relationships looked from the outside that I never learned to appreciate what they felt like from the inside. You offered me something real, and I traded it for something that looked impressive but was completely hollow. I nodded, acknowledging her insight without feeling the need to respond extensively. I hope you find someone who appreciates what you offer, she continued. But more than that, I hope I become someone worthy of what someone like you might offer. If that makes sense. It does. And I think you will. Your marriage looks beautiful. The photos you post, the way Elena talks about you when she comes in here, it's clear you found what you were meant to find. I realized Lisa must be working at the coffee shop where Elena bought our morning coffee. She mentions me? Only good things. How proud she is of your photography, how much she enjoys your weekend adventures together. She talks about you the way someone should talk about their spouse, like you're the best part of her day. This conversation felt different from our previous encounters. Lisa wasn't trying to win me back or convince me of anything. She was simply acknowledging what was real and expressing genuine happiness for my success. I should get going, I said. Elena's expecting these prints for a client presentation. Of course. Tell her the coffee shop girl says good luck with the law firm project. As I walked away, I felt a sense of completion. Lisa had genuinely grown from our experience, learned to recognize healthy love, and found peace with her choices. More importantly, I felt grateful again for the journey that had led me to Elena. That evening, Elena asked about my encounter with Lisa. How did she seem? Good. Like someone who's done real work on herself. She mentioned that you come into her coffee shop. I do. She makes excellent lattes, and she's always very professional. I didn't realize you'd want me to avoid the place. Why would I want that? I'm not threatened by your interaction with my ex-girlfriend. You're my wife. You chose me, I chose you, we're building a life together. See, this is why I love you. No drama, no insecurity, just trust and partnership. Later that night, as we worked together in our shared studio, Elena finishing the law firm's new logo, me editing photos from a recent wedding. I reflected on how different my life might have been if Lisa hadn't rejected me. I might never have rediscovered photography, never met Elena, never learned what it felt like to be genuinely appreciated for who I was rather than who someone wanted me to become. Lisa had said I wasn't worth her time. In doing so, she'd freed me to find someone for whom I was worth everything. Elena looked up from her computer and smiled at me across our shared workspace. What are you thinking about? Just grateful for the path that led me here. Even the painful parts? Especially the painful parts. They taught me to recognize what real love looks like when I found it. Elena came over and kissed my forehead. Well, I'm grateful Lisa was too foolish to see what she had. Her loss was definitely my gain. Best mistake she ever made, I agreed. And I meant it completely.